This is the 36th part in my project to recreate Kings Island and Parkitect. In this part of the project, I recreate the drop tower ride, and I recreate all of the pathways and buildings within the action zone area of the park. In the first part of this project, I recreated all of the pathways within the park, but I didn't do action zone. Right now, the only pathways missing within the recreation are the pathways in Action Zone, and maybe a few around the parking lot and some service roads and the pathways in Soak City, but all of those pathways will come at a later part of the project. Now, not all of these pathways and buildings look exactly perfect, and some of them could use a bit more detail, but my goal for this part of the project was to get a general layout of the area so I can have some reference points for when I start building in Vertigo and when I start recreating the bat. And right now in the video, the building I just finished recreating is called Coaster Connection. That is the main gift shop within Action Zone. At first I was using an outdated reference photo, so it took me a couple tries, but I think this building turned out quite well. All of the pathways and buildings within Action Zone took me multiple tries and many failed attempts, and I don't think it's the most entertaining or engaging footage to watch, so I cut out some of the failed attempts, and I sped up the footage a lot more than usual. Normally I speed up the footage to about 10 times speed, but in this video the footage is all at about 25 times speed. I cut the video down to about 5 minutes in length so you can still get a sense of the progress being made in this part of the project, but you also don't have to watch me struggle recreating the same building for 10 minutes on end. Trust me, I'm saving that for the next parts of the project when I recreate Vertigo and the bat. Those videos will be a lot longer and will have many failed attempts. So this video may be a faster speed build than normal, but stay tuned for the next parts of this project. And right here in the footage, I created a big circle in the middle of Action Zone. That is where a big shade structure is. It also has a few tables and some seating. And during Winterfest, this is where the ice carving is held. This pathway also has Chicken Shack, the main restaurant in Action Zone, and a set of bathrooms right next to Vertigo. I used Google Earth satellite imagery to take measurements of the pathways. I used multiple reference points and a few calculations, so for the most part these pathways should be extremely accurate, almost one-to-one with a park in real life. But there still may be a small margin of error. And after I got the shape and the angle of the Vertigo pathway done, I began work on the shade structure in the middle of Action Zone, and there's also a few flowers and plants next to the structure in real life, so I created room for those too. Also, if you aren't aware, I'm releasing parts of this project every Tuesday on this channel, so if you're enjoying this project so far, be sure to check back every Tuesday this summer. And next, I began work on recreating Chicken Shack. This is the main restaurant within Action Zone. This quick service restaurant only sells chicken tenders and chicken sandwiches, and Chicken Shack is probably one of the weaker restaurants at Kings Island, but it's still the only food venue available within Action Zone. I know that a lot of these buildings don't look incredible or amazing, but that's pretty accurate for Kings Island in real life too. Action Zone is probably the most outdated area in the entire park. It's been a very long time since any of these buildings have seen any refurbishments, repaints, anything like that. I do suspect that pretty soon Action Zone might get rethemed and maybe a new ride will come to this area of the park. The Extreme Skyflyer Sky Coaster just got removed from Kings Island this year, and I can't imagine that Vertigo or Drop Tower will be around for much longer either. I didn't want to dedicate hours to every single building in this area of the park, especially if this area gets rethemed in a few years and half of these buildings get remodeled or removed. I could definitely give them some more detail, but if Action Zone still exists in a year, then I'll come back to this area of the park, update it, and give it some TLC. The main purpose for this part of the project was just to get a basic layout of the area finished. I needed all the pathways done, and I needed some reference points before I started my recreations of Vertigo and the bat. None of these buildings look perfect, and I could do a lot better, but it also wasn't the goal to make them look perfect, especially while I expect Action Zone to be rethemed relatively soon. It would be really funny if next month they announced that Drop Tower is getting removed, and Drop Tower exists in this recreation for like a month total. Right here I'm recreating the locker bank right across from Banshee, and then in a few seconds I begin work on the Ice Cream Zone ice cream stand. This is one of the locations within the park that sells the famous blue Kings Island ice cream. This building actually took me quite a few tries. At first I recreated it at the wrong angle and in the wrong location. I was only off by about 5 feet, but still I'm trying to do everything one-to-one, as precise as possible. So I just selected the whole building, I deleted everything, and I restarted on the building from square one. I also want to give a quick shout out to my Patreon. There's a link to my Patreon in the description of this video. Supporting my channel on Patreon goes a long way in making videos and projects like these possible. This project in particular has taken me hundreds of hours over the course of years. So whether you support this channel by watching the series every week or consider joining the Patreon, it's all very appreciated and it goes a very long way in making this project possible. And now I'm finishing the queue and entrance to Drop Tower and recreating Ice Cream Zone one final time. And just like that, Action Zone is finished. And here's a look at Action Zone with Drop Tower and Banshee running. Here's the finished product. If you enjoyed watching this part of the project, there's a link to the playlist in the description of this video, and be sure to check back every Tuesday this summer for new parts. Like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.